I'm Patrick Laughlin, and this is Sinister. Sinister is a 57 Chevy that I have had since 2010. I used to be in the Army, and I'd go overseas for long periods of time. In 2010, I deployed to Afghanistan for 18 months in combat. It sucked, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of stuff went down while I was over there, but to get my mind right, when I got home, I had a handful of money and a passion for cars that I hadn't been able to exercise in a very long time. I grew up in a shop. My dad has owned one since the 50s and built hot rods, so it was natural for me to want to work on cars all the time. I did it as a kid. I was way too young to be working in there, but I was throwing sparks, spinning wrenches, and breaking stuff every chance that I got. This 57 Chevy was always my dad's dream car. He wanted something totally different from what everybody had out there. 57 Chevys, they kind of, a lot of people kept them fuddy-duddy, original style. No way, not in my family. We were all about going wild. So after 18 months of getting shot at in Afghanistan, I wanted to come home and do something a little bit fun to unwind. So enter my father selling me this 57 Chevy. The car was a mess. It was half of a car with a boat trailer hitch welded to the front of the frame, and the rear wheels were still there, but every single piece of metal on the car was absolute trash. Fast forward to 2012, I am once again deployed to Afghanistan, fighting the good fight, doing my thing, pocketing in all my money because where am I going to spend it at? The local little bakery where I can get a piece of bread or whatever? Nah, I'm just going to hang on to it until I get home. And what did I buy when I got home? 502 cubic inches of American big block muscle. It was awesome. I was going to have the baddest motor on the planet. Keep in mind, this is 2012. The LS motor has already been out for 14 years or so? Yeah, a very long time. So, I'm a little behind the curve. But I wasn't into LS motors yet at the time. Plus, my dad was into big blocks. He'd always wanted a big block 57 Chevy, so that's the route we were going to take. The chassis for the car was made from an original 57 California frame. Now, if you don't know what that is, it just means a 57 Chevy frame that was a little bit nicer, because in California, they made sure there wasn't a seam on the top of the frame. Most 57 Chevy frames, when they fold the metal up, you can see the two pieces of metal hanging out there. Not very good looking. However, people got a little angry when we chopped up this here California frame because they're a little more rare, they're a little more valuable. But in this day and age where everybody's making custom chassis, who cares, man, right?
Who cares?
We chopped up the frame a little bit. Tubular A-arms in the front, rack and pinion steering system in it. In the back, narrowed it slightly, gave it a little bit of a hump, and then we added in a NASCAR 9-inch rear end with 410 gears and a nice 4-link. Coilovers all around the entire car so that it handled perfectly, and it's easy to adjust for whatever you're doing. Whether you're driving on the street, or you're going down the drag strip, it's easy to change out springs and get exactly what you want out of the car. One of my favorite features about the car is that it is completely shaped. There are no rockets on the hood. There's no door handles on the side, no little lockies underneath them, and none of those little scripty, trimmy jobbers sticking all over the body. Also, the 57 Chevy had that very iconic trim going down the side with the two little pieces that spread out and then go to the back of the tail fins with a big piece of aluminum in the middle of it. This doesn't have any of that. We welded in all the holes, made sure to take good care in doing all of our body work so the car came out perfectly straight. Now, blocking a big, long, flat car is a nightmare. The car is black, so you can't make any mistakes. My father always had this dream of doing a revision of the 57 Chevy interior. So the dash in a 57 Chevy has this hump hanging out behind the steering wheel where all the gauges went. There'd even be a hump on the other side sometimes, depending on which model it was, what year it was, but the dash was kind of common. Everybody had the same dash. Nobody did anything really wild in these things. So my dad had this idea to take that hump out of the driver's side of the dash and put it right dead center in the middle of the dash. Something different that nobody else had seen. This was actual metal work, so we went in by hand, made all of these little pieces, moved everything around until we had something that looked pretty decent. Though we reimagined this dash and moved the hump to the center, we wanted to keep that same shape that a 57 Chevy would have, so that when people looked inside, unless they actually knew what they were looking at, they might not even notice that this thing was custom. So that same center line was running through the middle of the dash, the same curvature was still there. we were even able to keep some of the switches in there. The center console of this is nifty, we'll just say that. It used to have a big plate in there with a whole bunch of big mechanical old school gauges in it. It was nifty at the time, worked fine with the old big block, but then when we did the upgrade on this thing, we decided to go digital. We put a nice touchscreen stereo underneath it and some vintage air controls for that air conditioning that we added into it. All the nice creature features. You can even talk on the phone if you could possibly hear them over the sound of this exhaust. Nah, can't hear nothing in this thing. It's great! We customized the interior a little bit further with nice comfortable seats and a kick-ass console one. The door panels, the trunk panels, everything were custom made for this thing in that black and red theme. It looks fantastic. And getting to give my father the car on a TV show was an awesome experience. Not something that a lot of people get to do. However, my father couldn't exactly handle the car all that well. It made a ton of power. It had a bunch of weird features in it. The security system was always giving him trouble because you had to follow some crazy sequence. And it turns out he almost crashed the car. One day, he was loading Sinister into the trailer to go to a car show. He didn't have the trailer hooked up to a truck. Problem number one. Problem number two. He was actually trying to drive Sinister into the trailer like this rather than winch it up in there. Sinister used to be super, super low. We had these coilovers bottomed out so that this thing would drag everywhere. It looked super cool, but it was terrible for driving. When my dad tried to drive Sinister up into the trailer, the bottom of the car hooked onto the lip in the back of the trailer. Instead of backing off of it and adjusting the trailer, my dad punches it. The rear tires are still on the ground, so it lunges the car forward and the trailer as well. By some miracle, I have no idea, since the second coming of Jeebus, the car just stayed in place and the trailer went scooting right into his house. Yeah, the trailer smashed into their living room and my stepmom was not a happy camper. The next day, my dad calls me up and says, "Hey, Sinister's okay, I'm okay, but you're gonna have to take this car back because it has become a big problem around here." I understand that. So I got on the phone with a transporter, brought Sinister home, and immediately came up with a plan for how I turned this car from a nice TV car that I gave to my father into my car, the baddest 57 on the planet, Sinister. The car had a cool power plant in it, a big block, but it wasn't really my jam. I've been an LS guy for like 10 years now, so obviously I'm gonna LS swap it. Just so happens, sitting in the back of the shop, I've got a badass LSA motor that I built and a T56. Sounds like a match made in heaven, right? Put the new motor in was great, but we didn't stop there. We rewired the entire car. It needed everything done again. The security system in it was no good. It messed with the button. The popper system wasn't reliable. The power windows didn't work worth a dang. It didn't have air conditioning. I live in Florida, man. I gotta have me some air conditioning.
Why is it so hot outside? I opened up the front door and it felt like Satan had farted in my face.
The team went to work rewiring the entire car. But that wasn't enough either. I decided we needed to make this thing look right. So it meant sanding it back down and painting it again. For the third time. Noah put in a ton of work getting this car flattened out. We used nothing but acrylic blocks on it the entire way through on this paint job so that it would have that perfect flat finish all the way around. She got her normal 4 coats of base and then 8 coats of clear, man. I was not messing around. One of this girl, thick.
Damn!
By putting 8 coats of clear on the car, we were able to block this car to even further perfection. And now, it is a total sheet of glass. Everywhere you walk around the car, it looks nice and flat. The reflection of what you see is the actual shape of what's on the other side of it. After many, many days of buffing and polishing, the team got this thing detailed to a fine finish. And now where you see it here, we're gonna load it up for the final time into the trailer and we're heading off to Mecum. Yes, that's right, I am selling the car. Why am I selling Sinister? I've had Sinister since 2010. It has been, I don't know, a really long trip of ups and downs, ins and outs, brokes and fixes, crazy stuff all along the way. But the main reason why I'm selling Sinister is because somebody else can go have a blast with this thing, and then I can take the money and build another cool something or another. I'm not a wealthy person. That means I have to finance my builds through my builds. I don't get to really keep anything. It's just the way it goes. Got the car in 2010. It's 2024. 14 years. I had the car for 14 years, people. That is unheard of for me. I don't keep things that long. No, it's just not how I roll. I always want to build something else. So sell it, finance the next build. That's the way it's going to go for me. 14 years though, hell of a run, baby. Hell of a run. All right, well, let's get it loaded up. Here we come. Here we go. We are at Mecum in line, ready to get registered and all that jazz. The paperwork's already been done, but they still got to check it in when we get here and learn how to drive the car and all that kind of jazz. 10 to 1, they might crash it. I don't know. It's not that easy to drive because it is a monster. Cole's putting the work in. There it is. Officially, it's at Mecum. There's a ton of vehicles here. Let's do a quick walkthrough and see what kind of competition we got. Now this is a very pretty 56. Not a 57, but definitely a Tri-5, so competition. That thing looks great. Nice brakes on it, beautiful interior inside of it. I would be willing to bet it's gotta have an LS or something of the sorts in it. Very nice, very nice. Lot number S216. He's gonna be not long after me. He's got an LS with an automatic. Meh. So we'll see. I guess I'll set the pace for him. Holy, what on earth is that? Yeah, I know that's one of them conversion guys. I don't know that he's going to be a big competition for me, but technically he's a 57 and a Catfish Camaro. Oh man, yes, 1990 meets 1957. Nice. I guess they valued Sinister because I'm in the main building. The car isn't in here yet, but there's my spot. 205 in the air conditioning. That's gonna be pretty nice. All right, main building, right?
Yep, we're going right over here around the corner. Right down through here, right in that garage door.
Alrighty. Hopefully somebody wanders into this nice air conditioning in here and just goes crazy for it. Just gotta take it home with them.
He'll get it scanned in, and then Patrick will tell us where it goes.
All right. It's a brave man standing in front of this beast. Right on, we're there. There we go. She's in her spot, indoors in the air conditioning. Man, if this doesn't drive somebody crazy, I don't know what will. Outside, it's 10 million degrees. Inside here, it is calm, cool, and amazing. So this is really gonna help Sinister sell, actually. The car looks incredible inside here. The entire gang did an amazing job on it. Roberto did the final detail on it, and it came out fantastic. It looks flawless in here. Looking at all these other cars in here, gonna knock them dead. Next week, check back in. We're gonna roll this thing across the block. Next Friday, I'll post the video of it, see how everything went. Could be crying, could be smiling. I don't know, but it's gonna be awesome either way. Take it easy, guys.
Break it down.